What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Poly Sports Podcast, episode number 2. I'm your host, Arturo Aguirre, and I'm joined here today by my two co-hosts, Jonathan Frias and Alan Valdez. In this episode, we have a debate. We're talking the NFL quarterback carousel, and we'll jump right into it. Jonathan, we'll start off with you first. We've seen a plethora of moves at the quarterback position. We've seen the LA Rams trade for Matthew Stafford, the Detroit Lions acquire Jared Goff, and just recently, we witnessed the Indianapolis Colts make a move for Carson Wentz. Now, with that being said, which quarterback will make the biggest impact for their new team?
Honestly, guys, when we just heard about the news about the Colts acquiring Carson Wentz for practically nothing. Oh my God, if I'm a Colts fan, make sure early February you don't make any vacation plans because you guys could possibly have a Super Bowl parade. That's how big this acquisition is. Carson Wentz is not only upgrading his personnel and his supporting cast around him, but he's going to a place where they actually want him there. Could you guys believe that the Philadelphia Eagles had the audacity to bench him? Like, come on, this guy put in everything for that franchise. And you know what they did? They're like, sit your butt on the bench. That's what they told Carson Wentz. That is unfair. And just to give you guys a quick heads up about what I think about the Rams trading for Matthew Stafford. My honest opinion, it's like, you guys, they traded Goff and they received Stafford. You know what I thought? I was like, you know what? It's like getting you had a B- on the first exam. So you studied really hard, right? To improve. And that next exam, that second exam, you know what you guys got? You know what the Rams got? Just a B. They got a B. Not a B+, not an A-. They just got a B. That's nothing. The Indianapolis Colts went from an old quarterback that was not even mobile and could not make any plays outside the pocket with Phillip Rivers, and now they have Carson Wentz, and he's only 28 years old. The only downside, and I will admit this, he does have turnover problems. I was looking at the data. I was comparing his interceptions and fumbles over the last 4 years. He's averaging 20 turnovers a season. So I'm hoping for the Colts that he's able to turn that around. He does have one of the best O-lines in the National Football League, so that's going to help him a lot. He's going to feel more comfortable in the pocket.
Hey man, time is up. I forgot to mention, fellas, you only got 3 minutes to speak. Jonathan, you spoke for too much, man. It's time to move on. Alan, what do you got to say about Jonathan's take about the Colts basically going to the Super Bowl? What are your thoughts?
I just can't believe that he just said that Carson Wentz is going to take the Indianapolis Colts to the Super Bowl, man. Like, you already said it, man. Turnovers. Carson Wentz became like the butt of all jokes in the NFL last season, Jonathan. He was so bad. He got benched for Jalen Hurts. He got benched towards the end of November. He took, what is it? He was leading the NFL in turnovers. He led the NFL in interceptions. He led the NFL in fumbles. He led the NFL in sacks. That was like a week before he got benched for Jalen Hurts. He had 14 interceptions throughout the end of November. That was 3 more than any other QB at the time. He had 40 sacks. He took 40 sacks, 7 more than any other QB at the time, and 10 fumbles, 1 more than the next QB. You said Phillip Rivers, yeah, he wasn't the best quarterback at all last season, but he's not Carson Wentz. He's not turning the ball over as much as Carson Wentz is. Look, I'm just going to say, you want to know how badly the Eagles didn't want Carson Wentz on the roster? They're paying Carson Wentz to not be on their roster. He now owns the largest dead money charge in NFL history at $33.8 million, according to Dan Graziano of ESPN. You want to know who's second? Jared Goff. And that leads me to my next point. The Rams got a huge upgrade in Matthew Stafford. Like, the Rams have what they've been looking for this whole time, which is consistency, man. Like, Jared Goff, he's not the worst quarterback. He's a capable quarterback. Like, he took the Rams to the Super Bowl in 2018. We all know that. He beat Mahomes in a Monday Night Football game, 54-51, one of the best regular season games of all time. You want to know how many points he scored in the Super Bowl? He scored 3. He went from scoring 54 against the Chiefs in one season, and then at the end of the season, he scored three against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Consistency is what we're looking for here, and that's what the Rams are looking for in Matthew Stafford. So, who do I think got the biggest upgrade here? I'm gonna go with the Rams. They finally have that consistency. They're ready to win. They had the number one ranked defense, and now they have Matthew Stafford at the helm at QB. I think the Rams are poised for a Super Bowl run here. You see my background over here, Jonathan? Last year we had the first home Super Bowl game, and now we're gonna have the second back-to-back years. The Rams will be in the Super Bowl by the time the season ends next year.
Well,
That's my take.
gentlemen, we'll leave it at that, and we'll move on from there. But before we get into our next topic, we have a quick Broncos sideline report by two fellow staff writers for the Poly Post. Ladies, take it away.
Thanks, guys. Hi, everyone. I'm Anel.
I'm Diana.
And today we're going to be giving you guys the Broncos Silent Report. Looking at key NBA matchups for this previous week was the Utah Jazz versus the Los Angeles Clippers. The Jazz defeated the Clippers 114-96. Key players that helped the Jazz to victory was Donovan Mitchell with 24 points and Rudy Gobert with 23 points and 20 rebounds. As for the Clippers, they faced a tough loss with most of their starters out due to injuries. This included Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Another matchup we're going to be looking at today was the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets defeated the Lakers 109-98. A big contributor to that game for the Nets was James Harden. He ended the game with 23 points and 11 assists. James Harden has recently found a new success in this Nets team. So with Anthony Davis out and the Lakers having an upcoming hard schedule, LeBron James will need to continue his MVP type season in order for the Lakers to repeat. Now, what's going on in the soccer world, Diana?
Well, I know. This past week, we had the UEFA Champions League restart, and we had intense matchups. The first one was Barcelona versus PSG, in which both teams had 50-50 possession of the ball. It was very intense, and even though the intensity of the game that we saw, Barcelona still managed to lose 4-1.
That's embarrassing.
Tell me about it. And so we had Messi score on minute 27. And so after that goal that he had scored, we saw Messi missing on the field. You know, he was on the field, but nowhere to be found. And so PSG's player Mbappe took this as an opportunity to score 3 goals, creating a hat trick. And this game just sort of leads to more controversy of whether is Barcelona that team it used to once be, the number one? Well, we're just going to have to wait and see because, you know, this is just leg 1 of round 16. So we're going to have to wait and see how, whether Barcelona is going to be able to flip the score. Another game that was very heavily talked about was FC Porto versus Juventus, in which Juventus had advantage, had possession of the ball, more shots on goal, and regardless, you know, Cristiano couldn't come through for his team, and FC Porto defeated them 2-1. We had Dortmund defeat Sevilla 3-2, in which in this match we saw Haaland score again, and you know, this just sort of keeps him on top as a top scorer for the UEFA Champions League. Trust me, that player wants to stay on top of that list. And so, you know, coming forward this week for games, we have today Atletico de Madrid versus Chelsea. And this game, it will be really good. You know, you don't want to miss out on it. It will be aired today at 12 noon. And so for tomorrow, you know, we have another matchup, but this is not men's soccer. This is the women's national soccer team. And I'm excited to announce that they started their She Believes Cup, played in the US. And so they played against Canada on Thursday, winning 1-0. And tomorrow they will be playing against Argentina, tomorrow the 24th. That is enough for soccer matchups coming up. What about NBA, Anel?
So games to look out for is the Los Angeles Lakers will take on Utah Jazz. Will the Lakers make a comeback? We'll see on Wednesday, February 24th. Another key game that people should make sure to pay attention to is the Philadelphia 76ers versus Dallas Mavericks. This game will take place on February 25th. This has been Diana and Anel with your Broncos Sideline Report. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Diana and Anel, for that sideline report. And you guys touched on something, the NBA. The NBA is nearing its halfway point, and I think it's time we talk contenders or pretenders. Who really has a shot at competing for the NBA title? Boston Celtics. They're currently at 14-14. Are they pretenders or contenders? Back to you, Arturo.
Well, I hate to burst the bubble for our beloved professor, Dr. Turcotte. I'm sorry, but the Celtics are pretenders. It's been a year that has, I understand injuries, Marcus Smart with the calf strain that I heard a couple weeks back. That's a big piece that they're missing. And don't get me wrong, but Jason Tatum still feeling the effects of COVID-19. The effects of the body. So obviously, and then not to mention the biggest, to me, the most shocking part, Kemba Walker. This man was highlighted as probably arguably the most underrated player in the NBA, and he hasn't produced that. He left the Charlotte Hornets to be that guy, and now he is that guy on a different team, a young team ready to compete, but they're just not doing it this year. And just recently, this past week, Danny Ainge says so himself. He took blame for the fault of the Celtics. He says the roster's not good enough, and if the owner says that, the GM says that about the team, then I'm sorry, you just got to believe him. The Celtics are not pretenders.
All right, hey, we'll leave it at that for Arturo. But Alan, what are your thoughts on the historic Boston Celtics? They're known for championships. Are they pretenders or contenders?
Look, Dr. Turcotte, Arturo didn't back you up here, but I'll back you up on this one. I think the Celtics are still contenders. Like you said, they haven't been off to a great start. They're 14-14, but Kemba Walker coming off an injury, you can't really grade him so far on the season. It's been a few weeks. He just came back, And I think the biggest surprise out of them is Jaylen Brown. He's averaging almost 26 points per game. It's the highest of his career. I think he's emerging as a young superstar. And when you have that, you have Kemba and you have Jason Tatum. Maybe they add one more piece at the deadline to really put them over the top, but I still think that they're contenders.
I don't see it.
Hey, we'll leave it at that. We're gonna go back to the Western Conference, where the Phoenix Suns are 17-10, but they did lose a crucial game against the Nets last week. Alan, let's start with you. Contenders or pretenders?
Man, they've improved a lot this season. The Suns, they're kind of a surprise. I don't think they're kind of a surprise when you add a Chris Paul caliber type player to your roster, but I'm going to go with pretenders on this one. I think they're a really good team. Like I said, with the Blazers, they're going to be a playoff team, but do I think they have the depth to win the championship? I don't think so. They have DeAndre Ayton, who was the number 1 overall pick. I think he has to be more consistent. He has to be that third star on that roster for them to make any type of noise in the playoffs. And at this point, I think I'm talking this episode, I'm talking a lot about consistency, but he hasn't really showed that to me yet. So I think the pretenders, they have players at the 4, but they have Jay Crowder starting. They just don't have, that deep of a roster to make that, championship run. But I do think they're gonna make the playoffs. And
cut it, Alan, before I mute you. Arturo, the Phoenix Suns, contenders or pretenders?
Again, as reiterated with the Blazers, I just got to agree. Alan's bringing up some great points. Consistency in the playoffs is the most key component to win a championship. It is very difficult. And the Suns, they're pretenders to me. The Suns are a young team. Like you said, Chris Paul is a man that's aging like fine wine. This man is being Mr. Consistent. You think of Chris Paul. He's bringing out the side of Booker, a man that can help him score off the ball so Booker doesn't need to have the ball consistently in his hands. And a big point that I got to reiterate with Allen, DeAndre Ayton, a number 1 overall pick. When you're the number 1 overall pick, you're expected to develop quick, and the consistency is not there. The Suns will get into the playoffs. They're going to get a taste, but to compete for a title, sorry, it's not the case.
It really will be baby steps for the Phoenix Suns, but we're coming down to the big names right here. Are the Los Angeles Clippers contenders or pretenders? Let's take it back to Allen. What's your take?
Dude, they're contenders to me. As much as we don't like the Clippers are a really great team. Tyronn Lue has them like playing at a really high level right now. They're playing championship caliber basketball. Like even without their stars and Kawhi and Paul George sitting out some games, like they're still winning games. They're a tough team. But Kawhi is load managing right now. They have Paul George resting a few games. I think if they get to the playoffs and you have a rested Kawhi, I think they're gonna do some damage right there. And they're a really deep team along with like the addition of Ibaka and Nick Batum playing at a high level again. So I think that the Clippers are definitely contenders.
Arturo, where do you stand?
Again, I feel like the concept of debate, it's for teams like that, but we got to be realistic here. As much as we, as the three of us, are not fans of the Clippers, but you got to respect what Ty Lue's doing with the team. They're contenders in my eyes. I mean, that's an idiotic question to ask if they're pretenders. We all know what happened last year with the 3-1 collapse against the Denver Nuggets. So that alone is a chip on their shoulder to prove to everyone we are that team to compete for a championship. And Kawhi Leonard, yes, low management, Paul George missing games, but that's what you're going to have to do in order to stay healthy in a shortened season to make a deep run into the playoffs. And with Ibaka consistently contributing to with points, and as well as Nicholas Batum, I mean, we all know Kawhi Leonard, Mr. Automatic from the mid-range game. Who knows? We might see playoff P or pandemic P again. We'll find out then. But the Clippers, in my eyes, I mean, there's no question in doubt. They're contenders in my eyes.
All right, let's head to the number one seed in the Eastern Conference with the Philadelphia 76ers. They have a record of 19-10. They made a coaching move this offseason, and it looks to be paying off. Arturo, contenders or pretenders?
You know what? As much as the 76ers with their previous coaches and the struggles they've had, I feel like this year is finally the time for them to be considered contenders. Joel Embiid is playing in the absolute elite level as the big man, the best, probably to me, in my eyes, the best big man in the game. He's playing in an MVP caliber type. Not only that, but Ben Simmons is doing what Ben Simmons does besides the jump shot, what he's yet to still focus on. But let's be for real. With the acquisition of Doc Rivers, he's changed that team completely around. He's obviously there's some tweaks that to worry about, but with Seth Curry on there, and then with the team overall itself, they're just producing. And if Embiid and Simmons can both stay healthy by the time playoffs comes, I don't see no one standing in the way. Maybe the Brooklyn Nets, but I got contenders in my eyes.
Oof. Allen, contenders as well?
Definitely contenders. You don't even have to think about it in this, like at this point. Like he said, Joel Embiid is playing at a really, really high level, like the best basketball that he's playing in his career right now. He's number 2 in betting odds for MVP, just behind LeBron James. Like he's that special of a player. Yeah, you have Ben Simmons, a walking triple double. They added shooters around him. You have Tobias Harris playing at a really high level again. You have a Seth Curry knocking down shots, and you have a Doc Rivers, a championship caliber head coach. So I definitely think that, they're contenders for sure.
All right. It's time. The final 3. I think, these are like the top teams right here. The Utah Jazz currently have the best record in the whole NBA. They're 24-5 overall. Let's start with Arturo on this one. Contenders or pretenders?
Look, the Utah Jazz, I didn't see this coming. I'm pretty sure the two of you didn't see this coming. Quinn Snyder is doing a phenomenal job with how good of a run they're having. But is it enough to be considered contenders? No. I have them as pretenders. I know, but hear me out. At the end of the day, what Donovan Mitchell is proving to be heading towards that superstar level. He is improving consistently every single year, and that's what you do when you have a player of his quality. But at the end of the day, can this momentum keep up until the playoffs come? At the end of the day, in my eyes, it will be considered contenders if either the Clippers, the Lakers lose a big component to their team. At the end of the day, they fell out of the first round to the Nuggets last year. They have a lot to prove. A young team firing on all cylinders. But in a 7-game series, I don't see that they have enough to Donovan Mitchell. What more can he do? He can drop 50, and the rest of the team was going to have to be on his back. He will have to carry his team up Mount Everest in order for them to win the championship. I'm sorry, but to my eyes, they're pretenders.
Alan, I see you shaking your head. Let me hear it.
Here,
That's just a bad take, Arturo. I've been agreeing with you most of the time, but come on, man. The Jazz are rolling right now, man. You have the man in the middle, Gobert, protecting the paint. You have Donovan Mitchell, like you say, he's performing at a superstar, level type player. You have Mike Conley, who's like back to being himself again. He looks like Mike Conley again. You have Quinn Snyder. They have a great defense. You have Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's knocking down threes at an unbelievable pace. You have Jordan Clarkson. He's looking like a six-man of the year candidate. Like, they just have so many good pieces. They just fit so well together. They're playing some really, really good basketball, man. So I don't know. They're really just contenders to me. I don't see any way that you can see them as pretenders. So as I'm gonna roll with contenders
right
for.
now, we're talking about the playoffs.
Well,
Talking about the
hey,
playoffs?
let's leave it.
They're a great team.
Because we still have the two big boys right here. We have the Brooklyn Nets. Let's start with them. They're 18-12. They made an in-season trade to acquire an all-star in James Harden. Let's go with Arturo again. Contenders or pretenders?
I mean, let's not beat around the bush. They're contenders in my eyes. I mean, we all knew that the trade for James Harden. I predicted the trade was going to happen, and there's to me, honestly, there's no really point as to what they have to do. It's simple. It's a ring or bust. Purely simple. What do we got to say? Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden on one team. Yes, there's liabilities, but at the same time, when you have three superstars on one team, you're expected to win. Simple as that. They're contenders. I'll keep it short, sweet, and simple. That's all I got to say. It's championship or bust. Nothing more to it.
Alan, you have the same mindset about the Brooklyn Nets?
Like, definitely, Jonathan. Yeah, they have three of the best players in the NBA right now. Some of the best players in the NBA. I guess one thing you could say about them is defense. They're really bad at defense. They just added Andre Robertson a few days ago to kind of help with defense. But aside from that, I don't think there's any way you can argue that the pretenders. They just have three of the greatest players right now. And then, yeah, like he said, I'm going to keep it short. I don't think there's any debate about this one. The Nets are contenders.
Well, if you guys kept it short on that one, you guys are probably going to just stay silent and nod for this one. The Los Angeles Lakers, they're 22-7 right now. They're led by one of the best, no, not one of the best, the best player on the planet, LeBron James. Contenders or pretenders?
I mean,
Start off for this one, Jonathan, or
take it out.
Alan, go ahead.
I go ahead. Like I said earlier, the Nets, their one biggest problem is defense. What do the Lakers have? They play defense. They're number one in defensive rating right now. Frank Vogel, amazing defensive coach. They have one of the best players. All right, let's just say the best player on the planet in LeBron James right now. Like, I guess you could be, kind of worried about AD for his injury, but yeah, they're definitely contenders. They're the defending champs for a reason. And if you say anything else, then I don't know if you're really in the right state of mind. They're contenders for sure.
Arturo, what are the Lakers contenders or pretenders?
Are you going to ask me that, or are you going to tell this guy right here to my right? Look at the look he's giving you. You really think he's – come on, man. The looks are not deceiving. The Lakers are the defending champions for a reason. They are the team to beat. All these trades, why the Brooklyn Nets made the trade? To who? Beat the Lakers. At the end of the day, everyone wants to beat the Lakers. You want to knock them off that pedestal. When LeBron is in the playoffs, he turns to a different animal. And yes, Alan pointed out a big thing. Defense is exactly what they have. Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, they're all producing with AD being out. And that's another thing. AD needs to stay healthy. That is the biggest piece for the Lakers in order to repeat. If they stay healthy, no one stands in their way. No one stands in the way unless, the net. If the Lakers and Nets face in the finals and the Nets somehow just demolish them in a 7-game series. But for right now, in order to beat the best, you got to beat the best, and that's the Lakers, and they're contenders in my.
We'll leave it at that. Arturo, you do bring up a good point, though. I got to touch on this. AD needs to be healthy heading into the playoffs for the Lakers to repeat as champions. But other than that, hey, that was episode 2 of the Poly Sports Podcast. We want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Later.
Hi everybody, my name is Amber Lee. I'm the sports section editor for the Poly Post. I hope you guys enjoyed the latest episode of the Poly Sports Podcast. For more content, you can subscribe to the Polypost YouTube channel and remember to turn on those post notifications to know when we upload another video. You can find more from the Polypost on our new mobile app now available on the App Store and on Google Play. Stay safe and see you guys next time.